Tell us a little bit about what your view on the dollar is and whether this weakness can be sustained further, and is it the path of least resistance?
Yeah, hi, Rish. Well, I think reality is that it is the path of least resistance at the moment. Dollar suffering from a number of angles. I think there is this case that optimism towards Europe and the recovery fund has certainly helped the euro in recent weeks. At the same time, the increased intensification of virus cases in the U.S., the flattening out of growth that we've seen in recent weeks with some of the numbers, plus worries about the elections and frictions with China, are all adding to that weight of uncertainty on the dollar. And, it does look stretched when you look at technicals. The selling does look overdone. The technicals would suggest that we're at key critical levels or around there. But it's like catching a falling knife. And at the moment, I don't see any incentive to be holding or going long dollars at this point in time. So even if it's stretched, I think the conviction to go long dollars is fairly limited.
Which are the currencies in this part of the world likely to benefit from this?
Well, I think if you look at the currencies with the highest sensitivities to dollar weakness in Asia, they are the likes of the Sing dollar, Korean won, and more recently as well, the IDR as well, which is generally not sensitive to the dollar. But when we look at the last 3 months, it has been one of the more sensitive currencies. But generally, Korean won and Sing dollar are the ones you'd expect to benefit most from dollar weakness.
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen also, Mitul, has been this tendency for equities, let's say U.S. equities, when they're going down, we see quite often a move into the dollar, but it's not that correlation is sort of breaking down at the moment. Can you see any other correlations that you'd be looking at?
No, I think that's absolutely right. The risk-dollar relationship, which had held so strongly, has certainly broken down at the moment. And I think, dollar. I think part of the reason is that simply put, a lot of these issues are U.S. related. The fact that we have got concerns about the U.S. elections, the fact that we are concerned about U.S. COVID cases, and the fact that there are election risks that are intensifying, all are adding to the weight of pressure on the dollar. And, again, having a number of client conversations in recent weeks, I haven't found anyone willing to be positive on the dollar. That said, conviction has been low, and it's not a sense that everyone's going out and selling dollars, which could mean there's more dollar selling to come if people get in on the bandwagon. But for now, I think, as I said, it is starting to look somewhat stretched in terms of dollar weakness.
Mitul, how are you factoring in the resurgence in virus cases in places like Tokyo and Hong Kong and the state of Victoria in Australia, the need then potentially for policymakers to step up support, potentially further lockdowns for some of those economies? How does that factor into the currency space in those jurisdictions for you?
Yeah, it does add to the uncertainty. So far, it's interesting that the increase in COVID cases hasn't necessarily impacted currencies in this region, but I think it is a big risk because, as you say, once you see lockdowns intensify at a time when stimulus measures are starting to run out. I mean, yes, there could be more, but how much more monetary stimulus can there be? I mean, how much more fiscal will there be? In the U.S., for instance, obviously concerns about a fiscal cliff and a new package there. But, we talk about Asia. These new cases of virus infections is a concern because it means that the growth recovery is going to be a lot slower than many people had hoped for, and that, I think, will weigh on asset markets and currencies in the region.